Welcome, everybody, to a celebratory night. It is Spits and Suds post-game edition, Game 5. I'm Gavin Spittle of 105.3 The Fan. I can honestly say DFW's #1 hockey podcast is Spits and Suds. I'm joined by EP Rinkside, Shap Shots, D Magazine. The book is called We Win Here. His name is Sean Shapiro. Once again, Sean, do you have a Frosty in front of you? I keep forgetting to have a Frosty in front of. There will be a Frosty in front of me before this podcast is over.
I may. I had one earlier tonight. I had one mid-game, so that's
nice.
That's the one. It's the one. Someone on Twitter the other day said something along the lines of the. It's like they invented like the work beer, and I said clearly that person's not a sports writer because the work beer is a common. It's not a bad thing, but it's a reason that I think some people get into this profession. The work beer is a common thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I just need a Sean Shapiro lengthened answer, and I will get myself a beer. Oh, my goodness. We have so many questions to get to, but that's okay. That's great. Thank you so much for all of you that support and grow Spits and Suds. What a night in Vegas. The Dallas Stars pull off what many thought wouldn't happen, and they move on to a Game 6 back at the AAC on Monday night. Sean, give me your thoughts. I'll give you mine real quick. I love what the Stars did tonight. I mean, I'm just like, guys, bottle this. Clearly, this is what it's all about. Getting into the dirty areas. They created so much havoc in front of Aiden Hill, who I thought was brilliant tonight. And they just kept going to the net and crashing the net. And that first line and that fourth line were so good tonight for the Stars. I think they threw Vegas off their game. I think the Vegas defensemen are having to work now, so they're not easily getting out of their zone, which wasn't the case early in the series. And now it's like, Messier pointed this out actually in the postgame for ESPN, and it's a great point. It feels like it's flipped because now I feel like Vegas is shooting from the outside and it's actually the Stars that are getting in the dirty areas. So really, really exciting night. What did you see?
Yeah, I mean, we're at the spot where it kind of flipped in Game 4, right? Where all the pressure, I mean, the Stars basically, we all had them dead and buried after Game 3. We were in the building in Game 3. Felt like a morgue. After our podcast after Game 3, we felt like it was just the prelude to the end of the season. We felt like it was the end. And now they still have to win 2 more games. They have to do it's still an uphill climb, but all of a sudden you're like, and I'm intentionally using a Vegas pun here. You're playing with house money. This team was dead, nearly buried, and now they are headed home. They've headed home to a house that will be absolutely rocking. They have a chance to force a Game 7. They will be getting their emotional leader back, who will be looking obviously to have a big performance after how he's basically has been absent the last 3 games. And all of the pressure is on the Golden Knights. If the Stars lose this series, if they lose this series now, it's, you know what? You valiantly fought back, but in the end, you didn't do it. Vegas is the one where everything's feeling internal. Like, to me, this game, I look at Aiden Hill's performance as a microcosm of this series, kind of, where he was playing great. He had some dazzling saves.
Yeah, he did.
And they had some dazzling saves. And then in the third period, some duds. And all of a sudden, every shot Dallas took felt uneasy. Every Dallas chance felt like the world was going to crackle underneath for Vegas. And you've now put that feeling in Vegas' minds. And obviously, you would still expect Vegas to win this series. They just have to win one of the 2. But you can see the path now. You can see the path where the Stars could do something no one has ever done before. And you did it with a overall strong performance. And we'll get into some more exact schematics as we go into this game. But overall, the big feeling is, you know what? It's now like 2 nights ago, I still would have said, yeah, there's no way they're winning this series. Now the answer is no longer no way they're winning this series. It's they could win this series.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you. Kudos to Ty Dellandrea with a big game. Glendening, I don't know how you take him out of the lineup. I guess that's going to be the first question that I'm going to ask, and I am looking ahead. But I think the thing I like that I try to do on this podcast is propel what Stars fans want to hear to the front of the line. And I think Stars fans, with the return of Jamie Benn, are wondering who leaves the lineup. And that's a good thing Pete DeBoer has to worry about. But yeah. I'm kind of fascinated. I don't think they'll do it, but honestly, I think Mason Marchment could be a candidate. But like I said, I don't think they'll do it because I like Olofsson tonight a lot. I like Glendening a lot tonight. I like Dellandrea a lot tonight. I'm guessing Olofsson will be the odd man out. Pretty tough to sit a guy with 2 goals, but I mean, it's an interesting aspect that I'm sure will be talked about in the next couple of days.
Yeah, we're definitely. I mean, this is the whole point of this playoff series, right? Is we're talking, is we're spinning things forward. Now, I think it's to me, it's Olofsson who comes out. I think that's the pretty clear who comes out. Now, the Marchment decision would be a fascinating one because, like, I'm just looking at it right now. Olofsson was the least used Stars player tonight. 10:33 time on ice, least used player. The other guys who would consider coming out. Kiviranta, who helped create the second Dellandrea goal. I think he was really good on the forecheck tonight.
Yep.
Luke Glendening, who is one of the reasons Glendening stays in the lineup is because of his face-off prowess. So he's not going to come out. And then he scored tonight too, so he's not going to come out. But Mason Marchment only played a minute and 20 more than Olofsson tonight. And so it will be Olofsson that comes out. But you also, I mean, it wouldn't be the craziest thing to look at the lineup and say, let's plug Jamie Benn in alongside Johnston and Sagan and keep that bottom 6 the way it is. Like that wouldn't be the craziest thing. It won't happen. I would imagine Fredrik Olofsson comes out. That's the way these things work.
Yep.
But I could definitely see the case and argument to be made for Marchment coming out and Ben going into that spot.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting, and I agree with you. But I think what you said is a great point. The time on ice with Mason Marchment, 1 penalty in the game, and it was Marchment that went off, and it was too bad because it was behind the play. And just a needless penalty. And I thought the Stars did a great job killing it. And obviously that was led by Jake Oettinger, which leads me to my question for you. I mean, the last 2 games, I think we've seen really good Jake Oettinger, vintage Jake Oettinger. I think both goals were legit goals tonight for Vegas. You could tell Vegas is trying to go high on Oettinger, and they succeeded on one of the goals. So, but I thought overall his just positioning, his calmness, his demeanor, you could tell he was in control. His puck carrying behind the net, he just made all the right moves tonight, and was just really, really solid in net.
Yeah, I mean, Adin Hill filled the highlight reel. He will. I mean, you're going to watch, Adin Hill, the save on Hintz, the save on Kiviranta, those will both be in the Sports Center top 10, I'm sure. But Oettinger's performance, I love the way he aggressively was at the top of his crease, was reading plays well. He was just so technically solid tonight. And he was very good. He calmed the team down. And I mean, I don't, there's now a large enough sample size to do it. I think early on it was Jake Oettinger facing elimination. It was a fun storyline, but there wasn't enough sample size yet for it to be something that was like at the end of the day, it's a fun storyline from a Stars perspective to talk, hey, Jake always plays well with his back against the wall. But it was still just one series against Calgary and in a couple rounds. I mean, we're reaching the spot where this sample size is now legit. His only his only NHL playoff loss when the team that would end the season is that Game 7 64 save effort. Like, we're at the spot where, Jake is he's intense. He uses every slight. And back in the Minnesota series, I wrote a story about how Jake Oettinger lost a state title game in Minnesota and how he got pulled, he got yanked, and he is someone, and it was his final high school hockey game. And he is someone who uses every single little space and experience. And that is the type of experience that Jake had, where it helped fuel who he is today, where he doesn't want to be the one where he's going to be playing his final game and having to go into the spring and going into the summer. And he comes and he brings that when the season's on the line. And it's pretty damn impressive. Like, it really is. It really is. It's pretty damn impressive. And the way he can flip that switch, you'd love to see it. I mean, you don't want to have him. You could make on the quick side note, there's been too many times he's had to bounce back this year, but the fact that he bounces back so well and he does it when the season's on the line, it's like tonight. From when I look at the Oettinger stuff, I go back to I look at his performance going back to Game 4 as well, where he makes the glove save, where it's not actually a clean catch, it's just a deflection late in the third period when the Stars are looking to force over. We're still waiting when overtime still is in the balance. And then tonight comes out and plays well. And then it's just the Stars after Oettinger played like he did, and the way he kind of helped eliminate some of the chances Vegas had in the first period, it felt like the Stars really settled down in a sloppy game. And I think a lot of that goes back to the goalie. So get me back on track, Evan. You know the job.
I will get you back on track, my friend. Here we go. Yeah.
There we go.
Cracking the frosty, baby. Celebration time. Just got beer over my new microphone, but that's okay. As the Stars force a Game 6, and that is awesome. Another player that I thought had a standout game, Thomas Harley, 2 assists, but more importantly, I just thought the calmness on the ice, the way he took it out of the zone, the puck carrying rather than passing, I thought was impressive as well. Jumped into the offensive play a lot. I mean, I continue to see the growth of Harley. I can remember one game where I thought he struggled. I think that was against Seattle, but other than that, Sean, it's been real smooth. I look at the ice time for Harley tonight, 18-23. So clearly he's a major part of the defensive pairing situation for Dallas. So just so excited for the future with Mr. Harley.
I really liked one of the things I liked about tonight, and I like that the Stars won this game with Miro Heiskanen only playing 25-33. I really like that. I mean, now 25-33 is a lot, but it's still I like that he wasn't taxed to 30 minutes tonight. And part of that was Harley playing a larger role. Part of that was, and the thing I liked too that the Stars did, and it led to 2 of the goals directly. The Stars did a couple times in Game 4, but more so tonight. There was a couple times in the offensive zone by either design or the natural change where they had Heiskanen and Harley on the ice together. And I love that. That's something that the Stars, Rick Bowness would never do it when the Stars had John Klingberg, but Jim Montgomery, going back 2 coaches now, right? Jim Montgomery would at times put Miro Heiskanen and John Klingberg on the ice together for offensive zone draws. And I love seeing a coach do that because I think that unlocks so much of your offense. It was the Glendening goal where they technically took the secondary assist away from Heiskanen because I think it was technically touched by a Vegas player as he passed it to Harley. But that's a play where you have 2 offensive defensemen creating off each other while Glendening and Foxa go to the net. Similar thing happened on the you had a similar kind of space on the Dellandrea goal too, where it was the other Dellandrea. It was the Dellandrea goal where Harley and Heiskanen were both on the ice at the same time. I love that element, and I think it unlocks things. And to be clear, like, I also want to talk about one other thing real quick. something that happened tonight that the Stars haven't had, because he's taken a lot of crap from everyone, deservedly so at times, but and for his comments early in the series. But let's give Ryan Suter a bit of credit for. I
Yes.
mean, he was
He was good tonight.
really good tonight. And Jason Robertson's goal, I know it's a good follow and finish by Robertson, but it doesn't happen without a clean zone entry by Ryan Suter. And that's a play that is not normal for Suter. So let's
Yeah.
give credit where it's due on that. I mean, across the board defensively, the Stars were, Lindell was good tonight. I
Yeah.
thought
Hakanpää. 5
Hakanpää was
hits.
good. Yeah, Hakanpää was good tonight. Joel Hanley played his game. I mean, overall across the board, the Stars defense was very good tonight. And it's I mean, you got to feel good about it, right? So
Yeah, I mean, it was a complete effort. I mean, we can go down the lineup. You're right. Kiviranta was really good. Olofsson once again played a good game. I thought Max Domi was real good, especially in the neutral zone. I thought Max Domi was kind of a disruptor on some of the Vegas breakouts, and did a nice job back checking as well. Boy, getting out of the way for that Delandria goal.
Yep.
Which, I mean, clearly the replay showed that he was pushed. So that's good. But that stuff happens when you're in front of the net. I do give Adin Hill a lot of credit. I mean, that glove has a magnet on it with the puck. Those are spectacular saves. I did want to talk about, because they did focus on TV as far as the Delandria goal that took the lead 3-2. And as a former goalie, Sean, I'm guessing you're thinking Adin Hill has to come out more out of the crease on that. But
it's a bad goal.
Yeah, but it was deflected. How much of a difference does that deflection make?
I mean, it changes it. Like I'm watching it on mute right now as you brought it up right now, just so like to literally watch it again. And like Delandria enters the zone. It's a shot where Hill is just, I don't even mind Hill's positioning. He's a big body, he's 6'4". He's got it clean. It's a spot where even with the tip, he has to make that save. And I think it's, if you want to get all goalie coach on Adin Hill on it, to me, it's not as much the positioning of his body, it's the glove positioning. He's got very lazy glove positioning on it. And it's like he's almost kind of caught off guard by Delandria shooting. And that to me is the bigger issue if I'm breaking off my goalie coaching hat here, where your hands need to be more active. They're not fronting the play. And while I wouldn't mind him being a little out more on top of the crease, to me it's more the hand position issue. And that's a goal that, even if it's tipped, that can't go in against an NHL goalie. That you can't let that goal up. That is a bad goal. And that is that is a goal where it's a shame, because it takes away so much of, like, for as good as Hill was on so many other things, you got to make the saves on the easy ones too, because they all count the same.
Like, yeah. So, you're right. No, you're absolutely right. So this is the second game, Sean, that the referees have kept the whistles in the pocket. I didn't see anything egregious tonight that,
No.
I mean, I guess there could have been a couple if you really wanted to get into it. But I mean, those are kind of deep dives. I didn't see something like, well, clearly they didn't want to call that. I mean, I think they just kind of let them play.
I mean, even the Marchment penalty against Carlson, that's a play where
fighting for the puck.
Yeah, and even one
or
where,
fighting
like,
for a position.
You may have not even seen that one called sometimes. And that's another good point about this game, where the Stars are, we've talked about how the Stars are the team that kind of needed special teams more than Vegas did, because Vegas is the better, has been, or relied more on their 5-on-5. And this was a dominant, even strength 5-on-5 performance throughout the board, and the Stars never even got a power play. So it's like it's a great point to bring up, because it's not like you could even throw the asterisk, oh, they got this power play or this or whatever. No, this was a overall 5-on-5 even strength game, and I thought the refs did a good job. I thought it was a pretty clean game as far as the rules go. I thought the second period, there were times where the second period and third period got a bit sloppy, where I thought the ice looked a bit rough and the players were clearly tired. But as far as the cleanliness of the game from the discipline standard, I thought the refs did a really good job tonight.
I think they're letting the boys play, and I think that's wonderful. And my dog Rico agrees. So you had your issue with the dog, and now I have my issue with the dog. But I agree. I think letting the boys play is the right way to go, especially deep in this series. Just for reference, Jack Eichel played 20 minutes tonight, so he's certainly on ice a lot. But it's kind of interesting he hasn't scored. I mean, he's certainly contributing a lot. I really like him as a two-way player too, Sean. I mean, I love his back checking ability. It's just interesting because this is how like the series shifts as far as like what we talk about. Now we're at a point where Vegas has to be saying to themselves, like, we got to get our defensemen in the play. We have to create some more offense here because Dallas is getting their mojo right now.
And you look at where, I mean, Vegas had a couple, like you look at the Vegas offense and you look where it came from. One of the things that, aside from the Barbashev goal, and then kind of the, and obviously they're both goals that make sense, but the Vegas really wasn't getting to the net tonight the way they were earlier in the series. They weren't driving the net with possession. They weren't doing all of that. And to me, part of that comes from, I think Dallas did a really good job just kind of limiting how and where Vegas got into the zone and things along those lines. I think if you're Vegas, you're going to look at, okay, where did we have success tonight? And how do we get back to creating more off of those cutters, off of the clean entries, pausing, letting guys enter with speed? Vegas, that's how they scored their second goal, but Vegas didn't do nearly enough of that tonight, and that's what they've done earlier in the series.
So we have a ton of questions and comments, which is expected after a win, and super excited about that. So it's one of the things I love about Spits and Suds is going through them, and Sean and I can create tree branch topics off of that. So we always like to do that in the back half. So thank you so much for spending your Memorial Day weekend. Shout out, by the way, to all the veterans of the past who sacrificed their lives and all the current veterans for all their service. We're not able to do that without you guys. So thank you so much on this holiday weekend. Cameron Teague asked, just wow, this team has shown so much these last two games. Go Stars. Jordan Harper. I thought Harley controlled the game when he was out there. We agree. Love seeing Dellandrea come back into the lineup and make a huge impact. Also, who are you taking out so Jamie Benn can go for a skate in game 6? So we did talk about that. We both agree that probably the deal has to be made to take Olofsson out. Ty Dellandrea is an interesting story, Sean, because, Wyatt Johnston is getting a lot of attention, rightfully so. You have Heiskanen, you have, a young Harley, you have a young Oettinger, Robertson, so a lot of young guys. And because of that, I think people kind of forget that Ty Dellandrea was a first-round draft pick and made his way through the system pretty quick. And, one of the things Luds and I pointed out during the season, and he's kind of a Swiss Army knife. I think people take it for granted. And in practice, coaches will say that the lines interchange all the time, so anybody can play with anybody. But this guy can play on the second, third, fourth line. And, he just does a lot of things that doesn't necessarily show up on the stat sheet. Very versatile.
Yeah, and I think Ty Dellandrea runs into a bit of the unfair expectation of draft status too sometimes. Like he's only 20, he's 22. He was taken, I think it was it 10th? It was either 10th
12th.
12th. It was 12th. Yeah. And there's also the irony, not the irony, just the true fact of the pick was announced by Jamie Benn in Dallas, right? Like it was the pick announced by Jamie Benn in Dallas. And Dellandrea though was, as a player, probably frankly shouldn't have been a top 15 pick. Like he's not your typical, he's not the high level goal scorer. He's a good player. I'm not saying he shouldn't have been a first rounder, but but being in the top 15 set probably a bit of an unrealistic expectation. And so he's kind of had to fight a bit of that. He's also, Jim Nill has always compared him to as a Mike Fisher to me. He always compared him to Mike Fisher, and I think it's a very apt comparison. And we're seeing
that's a good comparison. Yeah.
I see a lot of that, and he's a guy who, if I probably don't want him in my top 6, I don't want him in my top 6 all the time. That's not how I build my team. on with intent, but he's that guy who can, if there's an injury, he can move into that top 6. If you've got a situation where someone's suspended, a guy can move into the top 6, but he really can thrive in kind of that um, thrive in that third line center role, that guy, or center winger role, whatever you want to call it, and can really play anywhere. And I think he was rewarded tonight for what he does. I mean, his first goal was not his first goal was not pretty, but it was doing the right thing at the right time. It was the end of a shift. The Stars were changing. Throw it on net. Get rewarded for doing the right thing. Second goal, go to the. It's a really nice play by Kiviranta down low to force the turnover. But Dellandrea doing the right thing as the F3 on the play, or third forward in, to not be as hockey nerdy about it, comes on in and is just in the right place at the right time, getting rewarded for doing the right things and the little things. And that's what Ty Dellandrea's game is. And it's he's the type of player where you need a couple Ty Dellandreas in your lineup if you're going to win the Stanley Cup, because that's the type of guy who can move up and down the lineup. So
I really like his energy, and
yeah.
I think you need those energy guys.
He plays bigger than his stature too. He's someone who at he's listed at 6'1", even though I have a really hard time believing that, because if he's 6'1" and 195, then I'm 6 foot tall, and I am definitely not 6 foot tall. So he plays bigger than his stature, and I like that about his game too.
So you get announced as the pick by Jamie Benn, and then you wear number 10. Some expectations there in Dallas.
Yes.
Brendan Morrow's old number, who was, a great energy guy as well. Calgary Puck asks, are we better without Ben? No.
No.
And he says, before you answer, he's slow and makes bad passes. Suggest Ben in, Marchment out. Well, Calgary Puck, we did bring up Marchment out, but Jamie Benn brings a lot to the table. And I think when, one of the things is added scoring punch. And even though you put 4 in, you're playing with a lot of hustlers right now. And Jamie Benn does have a skill set that other players on the ice don't have.
Oh yeah. I mean, Ben comes back into the lineup. The Stars are a better team with a non-boneheaded decision, Jamie Benn in the lineup. So that to me there's no disputing that at all. The biggest question is, do you want to be bold and take out Mason Marchment? Because I think that's the only bold, quote unquote, decision you would make, and I don't think they'll do it, because Fredrik Olofsson has been good enough. I mean, but you're a better team with Jamie Benn in the lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. What about? Would you put Dellandrea on the fourth line if Marchment stays in, or do you take Marchment and try him on the fourth line, or do you keep that fourth line intact?
I mean, I really liked, I wouldn't take apart that Kiviranta, Domi, Dellandrea line. I thought that trio played together really well. I thought they worked together to build into that forecheck. I would probably look into probably seeing a Marchment where Olofsson was, probably with Fox and Glendening. That's probably the route I would go, because I think you have too much working well right now. And maybe when I say that, that's when you start to talk yourself into, maybe we keep Olofsson in and you put Ben on that line, and you just take Marchment out. Maybe that, and then you start to have that discussion as a coaching staff. I think ultimately it will end up being Marchment with Fox and Glendening. But because I don't think you can look at the Kiviranta, Domi, Dellandrea line and think it's a good idea to take it apart, because I think they played so well tonight together, with each other, off the forecheck, off turning, neutral zone, pace. I think that line, that trio, gets slower with Mason Marchment, and I don't want to take the speed out of that line.
He's Sean Shapiro. I'm Gavin Spittle. It's a post-game edition, post-game number 5, as the Dallas Stars keep this thing alive. We're all celebrating on a Saturday night. Brendan in Fort Worth at Brandon F. Dub asks, are you surprised by the puck handling issues by Vegas defensemen? And I just think that they're having a tougher time coming out of the zone, because they're having to work harder in their zone. And I think the Stars forecheck in the last 2 games has been great.
Oh, it's been really good. Really good. It's something where it kind of gets lost in all of it. It gets lost. The end of game 3 gets lost because we spent so much time talking about the incident, right? Like the Jamie Benn incident and what happened and how the game was effectively over. But if you go back to the third period of game 3, and I tried to watch a little bit of it the other day, you actually saw the forecheck start to develop a little bit there. And it's one of those weird things, like, because the team obviously flushed everything about game 3 and no one
Mhm.
wants to talk about game 3 at all. But I do think we're at a stretch where you four overtime game last game, 3 periods tonight. You're looking at a stretch of like eight straight periods of a pretty good forecheck against Vegas. And um, that is not gone unnoticed. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Ben at Buffs Robo, he's got the star symbol as his picture. With Ben coming back, do you scratch the lackluster Marchment and stick with Freddie, or give Bork a go? Well, Bork would certainly be interesting, but I think at this point, with Ben
he's not
going in,
he's not
yeah,
playing. Yeah, Bork's
yeah,
Bork, Bork,
we're
Bork's
not
not
going to see him.
Bork's not playing unless if Bork was going to come in, he would have come in already. That's
Yep.
the reality of it. And
Yeah.
Bork is not coming back in. Bork's not coming into this lineup. The kid's a big part of the future. They're letting him take warm ups and all of that stuff, but you gotta he's not playing. Just that's end of the story. He's not playing. It was a fun ideology, it was a fun thought process, but if he was going to come in, he would have been in for game 4.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, a lot of these questions coming in, I'm reading them as I see them, but it is amazing, as we talked about at the front of this podcast, how that was going to be the question, and it is already appearing, like, who's in, and that's
Yeah.
good. There's
Yeah, yeah.
excitement in the air. That's wonderful. Mike Albanese asks, it would have been very easy to pack up after game 3. Agreed. Huge credit to this team continuing to fight. Vegas is playing good hockey. The Stars are starting to find ways to win. Interesting statement, Mike. And I will say this, minus the game 3, if you look at the game 2 late mistakes, I mean, this has been a very close series, but those are the conference finals, because I actually agree with Carolina, Sean, and I want to get your thoughts. I know it was a sweep, and that's coach speak, but it did not feel like a sweep in that Carolina. That was a very, very close series. So I just think sometimes it's luck of the puck going in and just off a stick, off a pad. But this series to me has been very close as well.
Well, I mean, I don't think this series should have been 3-0, but this series should be 3-2, right?
3-2, yeah.
Like the reality is we're at a spot this series should be at based off of 3 overtime games. Both teams have had a game where they were a little bit more dominant. This series should be 3-2. That's the reality of it. And now, because of how the games played out and the teams coming back, that's why I felt like Dallas was dead and buried in this. But I mean, in the Carolina series, I get what Brendan Moore was saying, where he's like, this wasn't a sweep. I mean, it was, though. You lost 4 games. You did. You didn't, like, it's, and so it was, but it also, but every game was close, all 1-goal games, and you easily could have seen, like, if puck goes the other way a couple times, you easily could see Carolina winning that series. So
Yeah.
the hockey's been great. Other than there's only been game 3 between Dallas and Vegas was an abomination to the sport. It was awful. It was a terrible game, and it was the of the 9 games we've had in the conference final, 8 have been really great hockey games. We had 1 really bad one. And that's what I like. I want great hockey games, and we're hopefully going to get another great hockey game on Monday night. And someone had a really good perspective after it was game. I can't remember who, and I remember seeing it on Twitter where somebody said that after game 3, when the Stars were down 3-0, they said right now, and it was right after Florida had won, and it was the Wednesday night, and they said there's anywhere from right now there are anywhere from 5 to 5 to 10 games remaining in the NHL season. And if it's 10, that means the Stars are playing in all of them. And that would be, and it's a great perspective. And I think that was, and I think that's a way to look at this and the way this team has looked at it, where they're taking things and building things. Now get me back on track again. I go back to that
All
line.
right, I will. I will. All right, we're going to analytic you, but we are going to break this down now. We are going to break this down. I'll take the first part. Sean, you take the second part, because Oleg writes in, Stars didn't just win. They dominated CF percentage and GF percentage north of 60. So
Yep.
I will take CF. What that means for Spits and Suds fans out there is shot attempts made by a player in the course of a game while the player is on the ice. And of course, these shot attempts differ.
Yeah.
So that is what CF percentage is. Kind of I would say, a newer analytic to the game, as far as just to the mainstream hockey fan. Tell us what GF percentage is, Sean.
Well, I mean, Corsi, I mean, I real quick, I would argue that Corsi is kind of the Corsi Wars were probably fought about 7-8 years ago. So that's not newer, but it's
Well,
I mean, it's newish. I mean, it's newer as far as the sport's been played for 150 years. Like
yes.
it's like I look at, and to me, Corsi is I like Corsi, and I think it's a very useful tool. It's actually the thing when I'm hand tracking shot attempts. It's essentially what I'm tracking, because I think it shows where it shows a lot of how the game is played, and it shows approach. I think for me, the big one that is really kind of established and taken over now is the expected goals for and expected goals against, and it's Stars, according to Natural Stat Trick tonight, had a expected goals for of 4.38 to 2.4 for Vegas. And basically, expected goals are, depending on which model you use, because there's a couple different models for it. It's basically using shot location, and assigning a value to each shot, because not all shots are created equal. And it's in theory, it's not an exact science, because the game is black and white. Did the puck go in or did it not? But essentially, it's using the data of if you have enough, if you apply all of these values to each shot, you're going to get a pretty close estimation of how the game actually played out. And you know what? Tonight, 4.38 expected goals for Dallas, 2.4 expected goals against. Game was 4-2.
Yeah.
So I think I think that's fair. To me, the big one that I like to look at, just personally for me, and it's interesting because it's hard to get, because everyone has a different definition of it. But I'm a big fan of looking at high danger chances for and high danger chances against. To me, that's often more telling, because I think sometimes Corsi, sometimes shots, sometimes it can sometimes be just noise. And tonight, Dallas had, I'm using Natural Stat Trick right now, they had a 15-11 edge in high danger chances for, and it was and to me, and the only period they got out high danger chance was was at the end of the game when it was 4-3, and part of that was Vegas having a couple high danger chances with the goalie pulled. To me, that is the number I look at more so than just expected goals and Corsi, because I think that's that shows how effective you are with your volume. And so, I mean, yeah, the Stars have been, I mean, you look at analytically speaking, the Stars have been the better team for a lot of this series, actually. But tonight, it felt like it more than it did than game 1 or 2, where they were also technically, analytically speaking, the better team.
So on this program, Sean, we're not magicians that don't tell how the magic works. So you just mentioned high danger chances, and that's the stat. Where can the Stars fan or hockey fan, where can they find these analytics?
Yeah, I mean, I look at one. I'm looking at right now, I'm looking, as we're talking right now, I'm looking at the game report from Natural Stat Trick, where and for them, high danger chances are using kind of that home plate area. If and to define the home plate, and this is a podcast, so it's hard to but basically, if you take a marker or a pen and you draw a line from the crease to each face-off dot, and then then basically draw another line from across the top of the circles. You'll get something that looks like a home plate in baseball, and that's basically kind of chances within that area, within the slot, within that tight area. Those are the places where the home plate area where you're getting high danger chances. Natural Stat Trick has the data up there for free. There's some other places that I check as well. Evolving Hockey, Hockey Viz, but both of those are sites that do have pay models, and they're both very good. I use both of their, I look at both their things, but if you want a good free resource, you go to Natural Stat Trick and check it out, and they've always got a pretty good game flow there.
And I will say, if any of you have any questions, feel free to just send us a message on Twitter. Want to make the game as inclusive as possible. There are no bad questions. Like I said the other day, someone was telling me they didn't know what a forecheck meant. It was actually my neighbor who's a big Stars fan, and he said, I appreciated that you broke down what the forecheck meant and what it does and everything like that. So to the diehard Stars fan, sometimes you might ask or might say on this podcast why, I know what that is, and I appreciate that. But at the same time, there's a lot of people that don't. And that's one of the things I want Stars fans and hockey fans to put their arm around other people so that it can be an inclusive game and together we can all learn and grow. Belfour's Billions, just the obvious question tonight. Who comes out? Mr. Belfour, we said Olofsson. Hard to take out Dellandrea and Olofsson. Looked really good. We agree. They both looked really good. This is what I love. My man, Belfour. Glad we get another episode on Monday. It's not glad we get another game. It's glad we got another Spits and Suds episode on Monday. Hell yeah. Hashtag we're not going home, even though we are, but the sentiment fits. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, I will say, I'm sure the room was buzzing after the game tonight. It'll be interesting because, you got to come out flying on your home ice, right, Sean? I mean, you got to establish what you're doing early. There just cannot be a letdown because I think you're right. Vegas has all the pressure on them, but I think Vegas is going to reset after these two games and kind of get back to what they were doing in the early part of this series. And part of that was being physical, the fresh legs, and, really stymieing the Stars defense in their zone with their aggressive forecheck.
It's also, yes. And you also have, Vegas has to, right? Vegas is a team that, as much as, like we talk about a veteran team, like, Pietrangelo is a Stanley Cup winning captain. Is a former he was a Stanley Cup winning captain with the Blues. Jack Eichel's a former captain with the Sabres. You look at the roster, and obviously we talk about how the Stars had Joe Pavelski kind of step in and probably filled very much a lot of that captaincy role while Ben has been suspended. But Vegas has those guys too. It's a very veteran for a team, for a franchise that is young. The core is not. And the interesting thing for me coming into Game 6, I do wonder who has this call, and I wonder if this maybe this is one of the biggest impacts he has on the team. Is I wonder what type of conversation Jonathan Quick has with Adin Hill before Game 6, because for a lot of the veteran players and everything like that, this is going to be old hat. But the goalie, the guy who has never been in this situation before, who made some great saves, but then started to falter in the third period, is now starting to feel the heat, is starting to feel the pressure build. I do wonder if this is where the trade for Jonathan Quick becomes the most valuable thing that he could have done for Vegas, where on the flight to Dallas or on tomorrow during the off day for the travel day, I wonder if Jonathan Quick and Adin Hill have a conversation about what do you do mentally in this situation? Because I think that is something that Vegas may be missing right now in the backbone that we've seen with Oettinger. And I'm fascinated to see what version of Aiden Hill we get on Monday, because that is going to be it's the goalie. It's easy to say it, but it really is going to be a huge determining factor to see where we go with where this series goes.
And we also want to mention, because he has been mentioned in this series, Sean Burke, the
Yes.
former netminder, is the goaltending coach for Vegas and has gotten a lot of credit for their goaltender situation this year. So I agree with you. I think Quick getting in his ear is actually a good thing with the experience he has. It's a July conversation, Sean, but Aiden Hill is a free agent. And I was just thinking tonight, I mean, he's making these tremendous saves,
Mhm.
but I was just wondering, do we have another Jack Campbell here? And, I mean, is someone going to say this is the goaltender of our future? And I say that because a lot of Vegas is based on their veteran defensemen and how their blue line is one of the best in hockey. And so you wonder, like, goals against and everything, how much is the Vegas defense? And if he goes to another team, that doesn't have that defense core like Vegas, how good would he be? So that's a July conversation, but I was thinking that tonight.
Yeah, well, I wonder if I don't think Jack Campbell. I think the more apt comparison is Anton Hudobin. Like, I mean, who Anton Hudobin,
Good point.
who was a career backup and was always good when he had a 1A 1B situation, and then and had a good run in a bubble that helped Dallas go all the way to the Cup final, and then got a contract that was. I mean, Dallas paid a guy like that this year, so
Yeah.
I wonder if. I mean, because Aiden Hill is not Jack Campbell. Aiden Hill's 27 already. Like, he's already 27, so it's not. So I wonder if you look at if you use the kind of the Anton Hudobin warning on Aiden Hill more so than the Jack Campbell warning. I do also wonder. I do think Aiden Hill is a fine tandem goalie in the NHL, but I also think he's a perfect example of a guy being fresh, right? So his tonight was his 10th game of the playoffs, his ninth start, and he only played 27 regular season games. Tonight was his 37th game of the year. Jake Ottinger is playing, let's get this exact number, right? So Jake Ottinger played 62 games. Tonight was his 19th game. Jake Ottinger's played 81 games this year.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking about one goalie has played more than double the other guy. And so I think the Aiden Hill lesson is more so, if you're he's not a number one to me. He's a tandem guy, and if he can seize it in the playoffs, great. But he needs to play 30 to 40 games a season. You can't. Jake Ottinger is doing what most goalies can't. Most goalies can't play 80 games anymore. It's just the reality.
Yeah, I think the Hudobin example is really good. I just brought up Jack Campbell because of the one good year in Toronto, but you're right.
Yeah.
And man, that contract still bugs me to this day. But I don't think they were ready for Jake Ottinger yet. I thought he'd be a perfect backup, but that's in the past. And right now we're going to Game 6, so that's exciting. Let's see. Jason asks, what letter grade do you give Vegas? Y'all rock. Go Stars. Thank you so much, Jason. I didn't think they played bad tonight. I didn't.
For letter grade for the game or for the series? What's the question on that?
I think it's for the game.
Okay. For the game? Okay.
Solid B?
B minus.
B minus, yeah.
Like I thought Vegas had. I think Aiden Hill masked a lot of Vegas's early problems tonight. I think the way. I think this is a game where if the scoreboard reflects the first period's flow of the game, this game looks really bad for Vegas. So I think Aiden Hill masked some of the problems. Now the goalie's part of the team, so I'd give it a B, I guess. So
yeah, 23 block shots.
Yeah, that's who they are, though. That's who they are, though.
Yeah. And I think Martinez does a really good job as far as getting down. Man, he sells out really well.
Mhm.
Let's see. Let's go to Flowy at F Weezer 55. It looks like DeBoer found some trust in Harley. Finally, more ice time for him. So I agree. And some trust in Joel Hanley as well, who deserves a credit. We need to keep saying that. I mean, we said Hanley is what he is. However, Sean is the seventh defenseman coming in these games. I mean, he just does a real nice job.
Joel Handler. I mean, we talk a lot about like we always talk about. There's always the spaces of guys who make run. Like we talked about Aiden Hill as a free agent, and these are once again conversations for from a Dallas perspective that can be had in the offseason. But like, I mean, Joel Hanley is 31. He'll be 32 this summer. Has never played more than has never played more than 40 something games that he played with Dallas last season. I mean, somebody, and I don't know if it's, I mean, it's somebody, and I don't know if it's going to be Dallas or someone else. Somebody is going to look at this guy and say he's no longer a number 7, and that's what he's done. This, and that's what he's like. I'm not saying he's a top 4 guy, but he's proven that he can play every night and he can do that. And somebody's going to give him that opportunity this offseason. I don't know if it's going to
Yeah.
be Dallas. It's going to be, I don't know if it's going to be somebody else. And you and I can have that conversation about the Dallas perspective at some point later. But it is something where to give Joel Hanley credit for, you talk about a guy who, it's not an easy job being the 7th defenseman. And I think that sometimes gets lost on how difficult it is. Just like it's not an easy job being the 13th forward. It's not easy to do what Fredrik Olofsson has done to come in and play well. So full credit to Hanley, full credit to Olofsson, even though he'll be out of the lineup next game.
Yeah, absolutely. Ryan McDermott with Ben back Monday night. The barn will be rocking. Who comes out of the lineup? We answered that. Feels like you have to keep Ty after tonight. We both agree. Eden Shadlow, who comes out for Ben in game 6? I assume Olofsson, but I wonder if Marchment would be a better choice. Eden, you are thinking like Gavin Spittle. Freddie has been excellent, and Mush, not so much. I agree, but Sean doesn't believe that will happen. And I agree with Sean on that. Alan Nans, make a case for why Marchment isn't the guy coming out of the lineup with Ben returning. So I'll say this, Stars fans. I mean, one of the thousands of reasons I like doing this podcast, your perception of the game is really, really good. Alan, I can't make the case. All I'm going to say is that Mason Marchment has been a top 6 forward on this team that, for most of the year, I think the expectations were higher. Sean and I have talked on this podcast where if you look at Mason Marchment's resume, had a really good year on a high scoring Florida team, and the Stars signed him to a really nice deal. So I personally can't make a case except for that he has been like it or not, one of their top 6 forwards for
Well, I mean, I can make the case for him to
Okay.
not be like I can make the case for him to not be in. Like I like what Olofsson's done. I think Olofsson's had more chances than him. My case is more so of what I would do and what Pete DeBoer will do aren't always necessarily the same thing. For me, I look at a space where I would actually definitely consider playing. I would consider it personally. I would. I don't think the Stars will. I think at the end of the day, you're going to roll with Marchment. So you're going to keep Marchment in as opposed to Olofsson. But me personally, if all of a sudden I'm magically put in the head coach's office, I'm at least having I'm having an in-depth discussion about it. I want to be clear on that because now I can also past behavior and how coaches treat players tells me everything I need to know. Mason Marchment is staying in. What I would do and what Pete DeBoer would do aren't always the same thing, and I think that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, one of the things that really jumped out at the stat sheet tonight was GVA, Sean. And for those that don't know, that's giveaways. Vegas 24, Stars 9. How much how much credence do you put into that stat?
It's one of those stats where it's definitely. I mean, it's it's important to use it within. To me, I only like using giveaways. There's some stats that that I think are good for large sample size. Giveaways and takeaways are one of those stats where I actually don't like using them outside an individual game because too often, just like hits, too often they vary from building to building. Like Vegas as a building is known for juicing the hit counter. There are, and so the number of giveaways, if you look at it over the course of a season, I think you're looking at too many outside factors of different of judgment decisions made by statisticians, where like a shot is a shot is a shot, a block shot is a block shot, a hit is also poorly defined too. But within an individual game where you have the same person making the judgment call, I think it can be used. And
Yep.
Vegas had 24 giveaways, Dallas had 9, more almost triple the way amount of times Dallas gave the puck away, and it's a really telling thing. There was a really great line. Bruce Cassidy had a really good line dunking all over the Arizona Coyotes after the game. I saw that some people from the Vegas locker room were tweeting it out, where he said that we had 24 giveaways tonight. You're not going to have 24 giveaways and beat the Arizona Coyotes in January. so, so it definitely has an impact, but it also is don't take anything away from the Stars, because don't take stuff away from the Stars too, because it's not like Vegas gave this game away.
Speaking of other teams, you just mentioned Arizona. Stick tap to the San Jose Sharks, who changed their logo green for tonight, as they are a rival in the same division as the Vegas Golden Knights. And they tweeted after the game, I guess this works. Should we do it again? And Stars fans were like, yes. So, I mean, I kind of like that, Sean. It's just kind of like fun play.
Is that more anti-Vegas or is that more pro-Pavelski?
Oh, I never thought about that.
Like, because I like it. It's very similar to me.
Ooh.
To me, the Pavel, it's when the Avalanche won and Ray Bourque finally won his cup, like they almost had a second parade in Boston, right?
I was there, Sean. They did.
So,
they did.
So
that was our cup.
So that's what Pavelski. I mean, I feel like Pavelski winning a cup. I feel like any of those, like Pavelski. Now Joe Thornton is informally retired now, but like I think Pavelski winning a cup would be like that for San Jose. It would be, he got the cup he never got in San Jose, and I think Dallas winning the cup and Pavelski winning the cup, that would be a moment that the Bay Area would celebrate quite a bit.
God, it's so great that he signed for another year.
Yep.
I think that Hall of Fame's getting closer and closer. I really do. But we'll see. I know it's the toughest Hall of Fame to get into.
It is, but we will see.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's getting late, so we're running through these questions. But I mean, Sean's dog, the kids, the wife's gone to bed. I mean, let's party. It's Memorial Day weekend. And Eden, thank you. I didn't read the last part. Love the podcast, guys. Thanks so much for all of your hard work. We're doing the hard work because you guys keep responding and you guys keep growing this podcast, and it really does motivate us. So thank you. Alan Nans asks, make a case for why Marchman isn't the guy coming out of the lineup. I just read that question. Maybe I'm getting tired. And we did make that case. Dylan Morian, I can't imagine the Stars don't want to roll with the same lineup, and it's hard to pull anyone out for Ben, but I think a Ben Johnston Sagan line could be a difference maker. I will say this, Dylan, Tyler Sagan, no points in this series. I think a Jamie Benn on that line would certainly help.
Yeah, and Sagan, I gotta double check. I mean, Sagan is -6 this series. He's got the worst plus minus. I mean, now it's not the greatest stat in the world, but he's got the worst plus minus of anyone in this series. And he's I mean, I think I do think him playing with Ben and Johnston, I think that could be a bit of a push. So
Chris Barnard writes, great effort. Once the Stars broke through in the slot and crease area, Vegas suddenly seemed vincible. Yeah, good point. I mean, you go into the dirty areas, you make things happen. And they did tonight.
I just took the IN off.
I did too. Yeah, that's great.
Is that better, or would it be unvincible? I don't
that, my friend, I mean, I don't want my keyboard to come over the air, but
yeah,
I need to look that. Well, let's see. You know what? This is a podcast, so we can do this, my friend. Let's look up.
Yeah, I mean,
vincible.
No, vincible is a word. It is.
Okay.
It's such a kudos to Chris on that word use, because it is. We often think about the ultimate version of it, invincible, but good.
Yeah.
Kudos to Chris on that word choice.
Absolutely. The definition, able to be overcome or conquered. So heck yeah. Chris, we need to hang out. You can make me smarter. Aaron Thacker asks, happy for the win and excited for the season is still going. Thanks for all you do. Thank you, Aaron. Massive stick tap.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, really appreciate that. Sam Green, let's go. Cap is back. Do you feel like it's a new series? Feel like there's a whole new problem for Vegas coming now? Sean mentioned it before. Yes, the pressure is on Vegas, and it's still, I do want to tell Stars fans, it's an uphill climb. But that said, you're climbing, and that's good, because a few games ago, this series, the probability of it being swept was pretty high, especially with Ben being out, Todanoff being out. Let's see. Sam Green asks a follow-up question: who comes out for Jamie? We answered that. We believe it's Olofsson. Fuzzy Wuzzy Boom Boom has a Ric Flair, and he says, Spitzy, I'm hyped. Hell yeah, I am too. Allison Taylor at Allison Taylor 32, trying to understand X's and O's from a basketball point of view, played and coach on a rush fast break. Are players looking for specific spots, or is it more trying to find the spaces? Loving the fight in this team, halfway there, but still a massive hill to climb. That is a really interesting question, Allison. I'll let Sean take this one as far as, the translation of fast break from basketball to hockey.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the elements of teams creating off the rush, and similar to basketball, and it's something that we see with Vegas, and it was the Stevenson goal happened tonight, but we see a lot with, like, for example, to use because it's a big part of their game. Vegas is a big cutting team. And you think of like a basketball style comparison, you try to hold up and find your cutters through the lane. And Vegas is big on that, where they work on trying to develop the clean entry, do a little bit of a button hook. Oftentimes there's a little bit of button hook after you enter the zone, so other guys can enter with speed, and finding the player that way. So there is a lot of the there's a lot of that. There's similar elements to basketball in that, where it is on your fast break, you sometimes may try to change the start point and create cutters that way. You also have on the rush, on the break, all of that stuff. You have trying to change your point of attack is a big thing too. So I think now, I'm not a basketball coach, and I don't know enough about basketball to break that game down thoroughly. So it's not like I know, I hear NBA terms, like I know what a pick and roll is, but I don't know. Like, I don't know what a pick and pop is. I've heard people say that. I don't know what that is in basketball. So I don't know if there's an equivalent in hockey. But from the parts of basketball I know, I can at least give a little bit of that. So,
all right. Corey Majors, our midday host, which Sean has appeared on, the KNC Masterpiece, a very, very popular show in DFW, 10A to 2P. He chimes in, Sean, and he says, if this thing happens, does Dellandrea get a statue, a plaque, printed currency with his face on it? And I just absolutely love the responses to this. Let's see. Permanent resident of Spieth Islands has renamed the team the Dellandrea Stars, the city, the airport. Brandon Taylor, at the very least, you got to name a street after him, especially if he plays long enough and delivers output. So the Ty Dellandrea fans are coming out in force, which gives me, for I feel like 1,426 times, Sean, Mike Modano should have a street named after him by the AAC. So that is a August podcast.
I look forward to the statue podcast, where we have the entire
yes,
we have the entire podcast about statues, and all of a sudden we're building an entire chessboard of statues on Victory Plaza. So.
Right. Absolutely. Let's do it. Let's do it.
You'll get to Victory Plaza, and you'll have to navigate through 16 different statues that all showed up overnight.
Yeah. Absolutely. I am in on this podcast. And by the way, a few of you asked, glad the podcast keeps going. I will tell you, we will continue Spits and Suds in the off season. It's because of you. So thank you. Because we have so many shows. We have free agency shows, we have letter grades for the stars, we have statue talk, we have just so many things. So it's great. Mitch at Mitch Smith 67. If the stars do this, let's see. That was more of a comment. Okay. There's so many, Sean, that I am going through them. This is really a lot of fun. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. Ash says, all I have to say is holy, and she put a poop emoji. I love hockey, and we love you, Ash. Jamie Campbell, the way we're rolling, I don't know if I'd change just for captain. I can understand Stars fans saying that, but you got to put him in the lineup. He's money. And, one of the things is we talked about how the Stars are creating so much havoc in front of Adin Hill. I think that's one of the best things Jamie Benn can do. So I think you add that as well.
Well, yeah. I mean, even if you wanted to go down the route of like, okay, I don't want to split up that fourth line and I want to keep Olofsson in. Like, the amount of people have brought up aptly so, Jamie Benn would be an improvement over Mason Marchment. So like there's like, you're not, I hate the hockey credo of we won so we don't change the lineup. And I like that Pete DeBoer doesn't live by that as some other coaches do. And now any coach is going to put Jamie Benn back in. That's not the case. But in general, I just a quick like soapbox aside, I very much prefer when a coach is willing to make changes even after a win, because that tells me that they're looking at why and how a game happened as opposed to just reacting to the final score. So
yeah, absolutely. Chris at Massacre of Ants, do you think Marchman never fully healed from his injury in the season? He just doesn't look right out there. Or is it just me?
Is this where I deliver that the list of injuries on both teams is going to be a bit shocking for both sides? Like, it's just going to be like that's just the reality of it. There's a lot of hurt guys right now.
Yeah.
On both sides.
So. I agree. All right, Sean, give us the breakdown. We're done with the questions. What are you looking for both sides as far as game 6?
For me, we touched on the Adin Hill response, and I think that's going to be interesting because I think he had the rough third period, and I'm interested he was really great the first 2 periods. He was even in the delay entry of goal, he kind of lost. And then, so I think that to me, I'll be interested to see how he responds. I'll be interested to see how Vegas, if there's any nerves that start to shift in for Vegas at all. And then the other big thing the Stars have to, from the Stars' perspective, and this is a big one. Feed off the emotion of Jamie Benn coming back, but don't overly feed off of it. Don't do something stupid. Don't do it's easy to say, don't do what Jamie did in game 1, in game 3 against Mark Stone. That's easy to say, but it is true. Like, you want to come back and you want him to come back and you want to build off it, but you also got to find a bit of that happy medium where you're not running around like a chicken with his head cut off and you're taking a bad penalty or something like that. I think that's the biggest thing for Dallas, where you're playing with house money, but you have to manage the emotions to an extent where you don't do something stupid.
Craig pointed out a key word earlier in the week, and he said composure. And I think when you get to this level of the playoffs, that can win or lose you games is composure. So I agree with you, Sean. I'll be looking towards that. I think the first 10 minutes is going to be so energetic in the barn, and for Stars fans, and you guys are going to be loud and proud, and hopefully the team gives you something in the first 10 to 15 minutes to cheer about. So that would be great. The Stars have a quality game plan right now, and it's working out. So hopefully they can continue, but can't have those. I mean, you're going to take shots from the outside occasionally, but I will just say, getting in front of Adin Hill, which they weren't doing the first couple of games on a consistent basis, has just made so much of a difference. So hopefully they continue to do that. So Sean, this was a good one, man. I'm super excited. This is really cool, and it's awesome spending Memorial Day weekend. And if we don't thank you enough, thank you so much for being one of the co-hosts of Spits and Suds. This has been such a fun ride doing these post-game shows with you.
Oh, it's been a blast. It's been great. It's we're still doing this, so let's we got at least one more, so it's fun.
Let's do it on Monday night, baby. Thanks for all your questions tonight. And if you're listening to this podcast and say, "Oh, I didn't get my question in," just feel free at GJ Spittle, at Sean Shapiro. Oh, the book is called We Win Here. It's a terrific read. Did I get your is it at Sean C. Shapiro? Did I get it right? At Sean Shapiro?
No, that's Sean Shapiro. You're good.
Okay.
You're good.
All right. My bad.
You're trying to give my email away too, I guess. But that's.
Oh my god. Oh wow. So. Yeah. Sorry about that. The book We Win Here. That's an awkward transition. That's fine. Yeah. And by the way, Idaho is on to the finals in the ECHL. So great job by them. It's good to see a team in the Stars organization making it to the finals. So it's really, really cool.
You talk about a potential, I mean, either way, the travel is going to be crazy, but like just the ECHL, Idaho won. Now you've got Boise to either Florida or Newfoundland. So talk about if you want to talk about a fun travel schedule, look what that's going to be. So
ooh, man, is that that's got to be 232, right? It's not 22111.
Oh, it'll be 232. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yes.
Frequent flyer miles in effect.
Yes.
All right. Sean. Yes.
And they're flying commercial. So
I know, that's what I was saying. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yes. And Newfoundland is not the easiest to get to. No. So for Sean Shapiro, I'm Gavin Spittle. Thanks once again for all your support of Spits and Suds. So we'll be on after the game on Monday night, win or lose. So we will see you then. And thank you for listening to Spits and Suds on 105.3 The Fan. Have a great Sunday, everyone.